Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we got to talk about Twitter or X or whatever it's calling itself, because I think, quite frankly, this move wasn't really thought out by Elon Musk or the Twitter team, and there's a lot of sources and a lot of different pieces that are talking about different aspects of this, and I think it's an important one because obviously this is probably one of the most well-known brands on the internet, and it is drastically changing, and we'll talk about that in a second. But as you may know, and I'm assuming you do if you're a regular follower of mine, that Elon Musk basically owns Twitter, bought it for $44 billion. I've talked about that extensively. I've written articles on that, etc., etc. Now he is rebranding it as X, simply X. If you recall, the very first corporation that he founded, which was eventually, I think, sold to PayPal or merged into PayPal, was X as well. And so I kind of think that maybe he just wants to get back to that because that's his original first company, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think this rebranding, though, is kind of an odd choice. Twitter, love it or hate it, as I mentioned, is one of the most recognizable big tech brands on the internet. So getting rid of its logo and then eventually calling it something else, from a marketing standpoint, I just don't get it. You're going to lose recognition by calling it something new. Everybody knows what Twitter is, whether you like it or hate it. And so I think it's odd. I'm not a marketing expert, for the record, but I think that's just weird. So as I mentioned, this seems pretty hasty, and here's why. Now, the first source we're going to is Insider, who I thought had a really good write-up on this because, interestingly enough, Mark Zuckerberg, and yes, we're talking about basically Twitter's rival here, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, aka Facebook, has already registered an X logo in connection to, quote, online social networking services and social networking services in the fields of entertainment, gaming, and application development. That's right, they've already trademarked an X. It gets interesting, though, because Twitter's new logo, which was rolled out yesterday on Monday, also resembles a generic Unicode character known as, quote, mathematical double-struck capital X. And that was basically added into the Unicode system in March of 2001. Unicode, for the record, is an international computing standard in which every character or symbol has a specific numerical value and can be used across platforms. So there you go. Now, a postdoctoral research fellow at the University College in London, Matthew Scroggs, tweeted about this and said that character, quote, had been used in mathematical textbooks since the 1970s. Now, that symbol doesn't have a specific or universal use, but it sometimes is used to denote an abstract geometric space or object. The new logo also appears nearly identical to the lowercase x in monotype known as Special Alphabet 4. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I do find it interesting. Now, trademarks are what lawyers usually call source identifiers. They're symbols or branding that customers associate with the company. So, for example, Twitter's bird logo is exactly that. It's a unique stenciled image of a small bird that the general public has come to identify with Twitter, the social media site. Josh Gerben, a trademark lawyer, basically who is with the DC-based law firm Gerben IP, said that a logo needs to be unique and distinctive in some way to be trademarked with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Meta's X logo in its trademark followings looks different from the one that Musk just put on Twitter, meaning Facebook's X looks different than Twitter's X. Meta's X, for example, or Facebook's X, looks like two arrows with rounded ends pointing inwards, one white, one blue, while Twitter's X is black and white, and it's angular. But Twitter could run into some hurdles given that it wants to use its X for social networking purposes, similar to what basically Meta has already added to in their filings. They've already verified this in trademarks. So it looks like nobody on the Twitter side might have done their homework on this one to see if there are going to be any intellectual property conflicts. Because on top of this, Reuters had an article today entitled, and I quote, Meta, Microsoft, hundreds more own trademarks to new Twitter name. X is so widely used and cited in trademarks that it is a candidate for legal challenges, and the company formerly known as Twitter, that one we're talking about, could face its own issues defending its X brand in the future. And to quote Josh Gerben again, who was quoted in this article, quote, there is a 100% chance that Twitter is going to get sued over this by somebody. And so obviously that's a huge thing. And even in this rollout, there were other complications that Twitter, or I guess now X, didn't really appear to consider. And this is coming from TechCrunch. Twitter did not get a permit to take down their Twitter sign on their San Francisco headquarters, and that required police intervention to actually stop the work. That's basically an uplift on a building. If you've ever seen the Twitter building, that's a pretty big logo. Now, as TechCrunch also discovered, the company didn't even make an attempt to secure the @X Twitter handle. And that Twitter handle @X is owned by somebody. His name is Gene X Huang of corporate photography and videography studio Orange Photography. Now, according to Mr. Huang, nobody from Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter X, I guess, has yet to reach out to him about the @X account that he operates, because obviously Twitter owns @Twitter, right? You think they would want @X. He also notes he'd be happy to have a conversation, because Lord knows he's going to get paid, for owning that, unless they take it away from him, and then I'm sure he'll sue, etc., etc. So this is just a sloppy rollout. This is a bit of a mess. I just don't understand why you would do this. I mean, and again, I know that Elon Musk has come out and said that he wants to make basically the app X not just be social media, but be the app, one-stop shop app for everything, your finances, your social media, and everything. And I just don't see that happening. It's kind of like a Venmo on steroids. And I think a lot of us avoid Venmo because why on earth do we want a social media element to our transactions, financially? So I just don't see 100% where this is going. Now, I'm not counting Elon Musk down or out. I never do. I mean, they've lost a ton of money with Twitter because I think it's just been so fragmented and disorienting. I wrote basically an article back in November called Why Twitter Will Die. I think a lot of that is coming to fruition. And so we're going to see what happens here, but I just don't see this, ultimately as a good move. It's fundamentally changing what Twitter is. And if that's essentially what it is, people will start moving to Meta's Threads or Mastodon, which both have seen surges in their numbers as a result of this. I can't tell you how many accounts I've seen on Twitter that now say, hey, follow me here at Mastodon or follow me in Threads or, whatever it is, to the point where Twitter was actually shutting them down. On top of it, their current CEO basically is saying, oh, well, we have record numbers in terms of bandwidth and traffic and all that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, nobody's really believing that because third-party independent sources are saying, no, the traffic for Twitter is way down. So we'll see where this goes, but I think this has been a mess. And that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and X, I guess now, at NickAESP, and also subscribe to me at YouTube as well. Please ring that bell, and as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.